there, I am Cheryl M. Charles. I'd like to share just a little bit about myself. I am a children's author, but I started off my career as a registered nurse. And then I was an elementary school teacher for about 10 years at Sand Hills Public School. I would love to read one of my stories to you. This one is entitled Messy Marvin and Friends, Big Bub and the Bully. Please settle in for story time. Let's start with Chapter 2, Another Bumpy Bus Ride. Bub climbed the steps of the bus, and when he got inside, he began looking for a place to sit and a spot for his suitcase and his backpack. The kids on the bus seemed excited about heading off to Camp Sunny for a week of fun, games, sports, arts and crafts, and hiking adventures. As Bub walked down the aisle, looking for a seat, he tripped on another camper's foot, and he almost fell. Big Bub wondered why the boy's foot was in the aisle and not safely tucked in front of his own seat. Bub looked at the boy in shock. He had short brown hair, and he was wearing a blue t-shirt with a thick white stripe and green shorts. The boy looked up and laughed out loud. Just then, Messy Marvin and Picky Paul called out to Bub so they could sit close to each other. The friends liked Big Bub. He wasn't messy like Marvin or picky like Paul, but they all got along very well. Bub frowned when he settled into his seat next to Marvin. He was not happy that the boy did not say, "I'm sorry," or ask Bub if he was okay. Big Bub would sometimes see this boy at school, at the park, at the library, and at their local hockey rink during the winter months. But they had never spoken to each other. Bub didn't even know his name. The bus drove away quickly, and soon enough, Big Bub started chatting with his good friends, Messy Marvin and Tired Terry, who were sitting close by. As the bus got closer to the campsite, the roads became bumpy, and the kids saw a tall, leafy, deciduous tree and lots of large coniferous trees with pine needles. The kids happily talked about all the fun activities that awaited them. When the bus pulled up to the campsite, the kids grew even more excited. There were wooden cabins scattered among the trees and a fire pit for sing-alongs and roasting marshmallows. Big Bub's mom told him that there would also be a soccer field and a swimming pool on the campgrounds. Chapter 3, The Campsite. When the bus came to a stop in front of Camp Sunny, Hannah's family was parked near a tree. They had given some of the friends a ride to the campsite. Sporty Scotty, Cheery Cleary, Jealous Jen, and Hungry Hannah grabbed their bags and suitcases before running to the bus to greet their friends. Hannah's parents waved goodbye to the kids as they headed off for a week of fun and adventure. The campers were trying to get off the bus with their suitcases and backpacks. Most of the kids were taking turns as they gathered their belongings before stepping off the bus. As Big Bub took his final step, he felt a hard shove from behind. Bub fell to the ground with a loud thud. He landed in the dirt and scraped his knee and the palms of his hands. When he looked up, he saw that it was the same boy who had tripped him earlier. Again, the boy wearing the blue t-shirt with the thick white stripe did not say, "I'm sorry," and he didn't try to help Big Bub. He just looked at Bub with a smirk on his face. The bully ran away and disappeared quickly into the woods before the camp counselors arrived on the scene. Picky Paul and Messy Marvin tried to help their friend to his feet. When Allie, Trey, and Troy arrived on the scene, they asked Big Bub if he was hurt and needed a bandage. Bub shook his head and said, "No, thank you." He thought about telling the counselors that he was pushed when getting off the bus, but he decided to stay quiet, at least for now. When he looked closely at the counselors, he noticed that their names were printed on their name tags, and he also noticed that the two brothers were identical twins. Cool, Bub thought to himself as he tried not to think about his painful injuries. Hungry Hannah and Chatty Patty picked up Bub's suitcase. That was a very mean thing to do. Why did that boy shove Big Bub? Asked Chatty Patty. That was just horrible. Even Cheery Cleary, who was always chipper and happy, felt a lump in her throat. She couldn't understand why anyone would be so mean. Clary always thought that it was easier to smile than frown, and easier to be a friend than a bully. Big Bub was usually easygoing and friendly, but now he felt angry and hurt. He usually stood tall and proud, but now his shoulders slumped forward as he trudged along. Sporty Scotty put his hand on Bub's shoulder to cheer him up, but these attacks from the bully made Big Bub feel like he was the smallest person in the world. Chapter 4. Camp Life. Allie, Trey, and Troy were eager to welcome the kids and did so with happy smiles. Before the friends were told which cabin they would be sleeping in, the counselors began discussing some important rules. One of the most important rules was never to wander off alone, hike alone, or swim alone. If the lifeguard wasn't on duty, the chain link fence around the pool had a locked gate to keep the children safe. The kids were also told not to start the campfires. This was a job for the adults. The counselors had to know where every camper was at all times. Bub listened closely. He also hoped they would tell the kids that bullying was not allowed. Bub smiled a little when the counselors talked about the fun games, crafts, and sports that were planned for the week. Hungry Hannah's eyes blinked, and she grinned when Allie, Trey, and Troy mentioned that there would be campfire sing-alongs, and the kids would be roasting marshmallows and making s'mores. The camp counselors started calling the kids' names to assign their cabin numbers. They wanted the campers to put their backpacks and suitcases away, wash their hands, and get ready for lunch. Bub was thrilled that he was sharing a cabin with his friends, Messy Marvin, Picky Paul, and Sporty Scotty. Bub was happy that he didn't have to share a cabin with the bully. Just a few steps away, Hungry Hannah, Chatty Patty, Cheery Cleary, and their new friend Mandy were roommates in cabin number 3. The girls hurried inside to put their heavy backpacks away, choose their beds, and get ready for lunch. Hannah wasn't the only one feeling hungry. It had been a busy morning. In cabin number 4, tired Terry quickly chose a bunk bed. She snuggled up under her blanket while yawning because it had been a long, bumpy bus ride. Terry was tired as usual. She was hoping to have a morning nap before the fun and games began. Jealous Jen, Grumpy Grace, and Sumitra looked at Terry, who was already looking cozy as she began to fall asleep. Jen wanted the bottom bunk, but Terry had taken the last one. Now Jealous Jen would have to sleep on the top bunk. She didn't like the idea of having to climb up and down a ladder to get in and out of bed. As Bub, Marvin, Scotty, and Paul started to unpack, Big Bub felt sad and alone again, even though he and his friends were roommates. He missed his family terribly. What would he do without his sister and his mom for a whole week? Also, Bub had never been a victim before, and he didn't know what to do. Other kids seemed to like him, and he always tried to be kind. He treated others the way that he wanted to be treated. He sat on his bed and wondered what he could have done to make this boy dislike him so much. He thought to himself, is it my fault that the bully is so mean to me? Now, this book has 11 chapters, so we're going to stop on chapter 5, which is entitled, Let the Games Begin. This book is dedicated to the victims of bullying behavior, and I'm hoping that it will help you to find the courage to stand up for yourself and to share what is happening to you. So this book is also written for the bystanders. What do you do if you see another child being bullied? Do you stand and watch? Do you go and get help? Do you speak up and help? What do you do? Because probably you're scared because you don't want the bully to turn on you as well. So we'll have to see what the friends do and whether they're able to help them. Will the friends find their voices and speak up for their friend? Now this book is also written for the bullies. If you have bullied or you're thinking of bullying another child, whatever your reason, you need to stop and think about your behavior. And how do you feel after you've bullied? Do you feel stronger than your victim? Smarter? More popular? Is it actually a real feeling? Is it actually true? Or is the victim and the bystanders looking at you as someone that's really, really mean and someone that they don't want to be friends with? How you make the bystanders feel? And how do you think that the other kids look at you after you've been a bully? Is it too late to change and become a friend? Or can you change your behavior? Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I really do hope you enjoyed the reading. I hope you will enjoy the books. And bye for now.